The topics and opinions expressed on the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4WN Radio.
Welcome to Aging Like a Badass. I'm Kimberly Price, your 40-something host, and I'm on a mission to create the trusted spaces to help you navigate life's wrinkles. Hide from uncomfortable conversations? Not a chance. The raw and real is the rocket fuel that ignites change, and there is no better time than the present to excavate the messy and activate your inner superpower to create a life you love. So stick around and get ready to learn the tips, tricks, and truths to age like a badass, because wrinkles aren't the problem, they're the solution. Welcome back to Aging Like a Badass. I'm your host, Kimberly Price. And today in the house, we have Miss Amanda Montgomery. She's a God-fearing, beach-loving, coffee-drinking, active-living, traveling-seeking Jesus girl. And I'm super excited that she's here today. We're going to talk about hope after loss, hope after loss. I can't talk today. And all of the things that you get to become when you take a tragedy and turn it into an opportunity. So welcome, Amanda, to the show.
Thank you. So happy to be here with you.
Yeah, you too. You too. So I am super excited to have you here today. I told you right before we were coming in that I wanted to take you on a walk cast. So sometimes I get these crazy ideas and I have this energy that, I don't know, this space, maybe just can't contain today. So I wanted to pick up my phone and come in through my phone and walk and talk, because I find that sometimes being out in nature or you're even being active inspires, a different kind of conversation. So I am going to envision that we are on a walk today and we're friends and we're having this wonderful conversation about life. And I'm excited for the listeners to get to know you.
Yes, same.
Yeah. So I want to talk about Hopewell. You have Hopewell on your hat, and it's this incredible, I'm going to call it a movement that you've created out of a life situation that's happened. And you've been inspiring and, working with, women in a way that I think sometimes can be taboo to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
And so I want to dive into Hopewell and where it came from, what inspired it. And what are you doing with it?
Yeah, so Hopewell, it's pretty crazy how God directed me to this specifically. I was about 7 weeks pregnant, and I had my first ultrasound a few days earlier, and they saw that it was a little abnormal. It wasn't exactly my baby wasn't developing the way it should be. So they took my HCG, the blood work and everything. And I went to the doctor's office that morning. And then that afternoon, my family had to drive to Pennsylvania for a funeral. So I live in Alabama and this is a very long drive. And especially in the back of my mind, just knowing, just hoping that those blood results were going to come back good. And that night we had stopped, I think in North Carolina that night. And I was just Googling what my HCG levels were supposed to be for how far along I was. And it was supposed to be at least 10,000. And I was like, okay, God, I just pray like it's at least 10,000 when they call me back. So that next morning we get up, we start driving again. We drive through this town in Virginia, and the name of the town is Hopewell. And I just feel like God was just speaking to me as I was waiting for that phone call from the doctor. Like, Amanda, I want you to hope well in this situation, no matter the outcome, no matter what may come, just hope well in me and everything will be okay. So right after passing that town, the doctor calls me back. And they say that my HCG is actually at 40,000. So quadruple the amount that I was expecting. And I was just like, wow, God, like, thank you so, so much. So it gave me a little peace as we were up in Pennsylvania for the funeral. I didn't have to really think about it too much. And then we come home and I have a ultrasound 2 weeks after my first one. And that's when I found out there was no heartbeat. But that's when God reminded me, like, it's okay, hope well in this situation, and just believe in me. And so another cool thing another cool thing was they wanted to do genetic testing to see what was happening, because this was my second miscarriage. And when they did the D&C, they were able to find out the gender of the baby, which I didn't even realize at that time. I had already named her Lucy Hopewell. I just had a feeling it was a girl. And through the results came back, and they're like, do you want to know the gender? And I was like, yes, it's a girl, right? And they're like, yes. So that's kind of the backstory to Hopewell.
Yeah. So where did things go from there? Where did, after you got home, a couple weeks went by, knew it was a girl, you progressed from there?
Yeah. So I want to talk also about just like some things that the Lord used during that time, that after miscarriage time. I think one of the things that really helped me was keeping a journal, a list of what I am grateful for in the midst of the deepest disappointment. Because it was a huge, huge disappointment. It was a little roller coaster up and down.
Yeah.
And having that list, writing that list every day, what I am so grateful for to the Lord, despite being in a big disappointment, was so healthy for me. Another thing was just worship music and praise music, just keeping that in my earbuds 24/7 as I'm doing dishes, doing laundry, just remembering just to keep my eyes and my focus on the Lord, because He is the one that will comfort me and give me hope. And so that was a couple things. And then another cool thing, my friend sent me a gift called T-Motions. And I'm not sure, have you heard of it?
I haven't heard of it. So how do you spell it? I'm going to put it in the comments. How do you spell?
T-E-A.
Okay. T-E-A.
M-O-T.
Okay.
I-O-N.
So T-motions, like tea that you drink.
Yeah.
Motions. Okay. Awesome.
Yes. And so the creator of that, actually, she had a miscarriage with twins. And her sister saw her all the time just holding a cup of tea, and that was like her comfort. And she always had tea with her. And so her sister was like, it'd be so cool to create a tea that had these adaptogens in it for stress relief. And so she created these different teas, and the names of the teas are really cool too. Like one of them is Have Hope, and that's like a peppermint cream tea. Seek Peace is a rooibos coconut tea. Find Strength, it's a passion fruit jasmine green tea. So that was just a really special gift to get. So I just wanted to give your listeners ideas if they have a friend, going through the same thing. Just a fun gift to, not fun, but like a comforting gift for someone who is going through it. And then also, someone on Etsy is selling this really cute mug that says hug in a mug. So I think that's a really cute gift to get with it too.
So I want to ask you a question. It can be a difficult question, but it's something that I hear women talk about. when they have a miscarriage. And that is the guilt associated with how far along that they are when, they have the miscarriage. And so the way that it's been explained, because I haven't personally walked through this, but I know that there are women that will listen to this that will want to feel and hear the comfort of knowing that it's, to me, the only comparison that I have that would be similar is someone that has a stage 1 cancer diagnosis, the way they feel compared to somebody that has a stage 4 cancer diagnosis. And in our country, in all things, we like to put levels on things, like this trauma isn't as bad as that trauma, or this staging isn't as bad as that staging, or this many weeks along, you shouldn't feel as bad as someone that's this many weeks along. And so I want to talk about that a little bit, because it's so wrong and it's so not okay.
Yeah.
And, each of us individually have our experiences, and it doesn't matter if you're, 2 weeks or 40 weeks.
Right.
Right. There are differences, of course.
Right.
But there is no greater than or less than or right to feel this way or right not to feel this way. Right. So let's talk about that a little bit. And what's been your experience with that personally?
Yeah, I think as a believer, it comes back to knowing when life starts. It starts at conception, right? So if you believe that life starts at conception, it's the same. You lose a life, whether it's a week, 2 weeks, 4 weeks, whether it's 20 weeks, full term. I do think the pain level could be, and the level of the length of processing that you would have to go through with grief is a bit different.
Yeah.
But I think, a life is a life, and, it hurts all the same.
Yeah. Well, and there's hormonal changes in each of those stages also.
Right.
So there's not only the grief and the knowing of loss, but then there's this physical. The female, a female especially has this physical loss.
Right.
And this physical change that has happened because your body immediately starts adapting to this new life that you're growing.
Right.
And those changes, whether they are different, great word, different all the way through day to day, even hour to hour, there are differences, but there's still changes.
Right.
And they're still there. And so those are things that women that are experiencing this are walking through. So what kind of advice or compassion or listening or understanding could you offer to those women that, are in maybe these earlier, let's say first trimester? We'll just put, everything in kind of trimesters, these first trimester losses, those feelings of, well, I can't talk about this because I have a friend that lost their baby in third trimester. What could you say to them to help them understand that it's okay to have the hurts they hurt, and your 7-week loss or 9-week loss could be significantly different for all the reasons than somebody else's.
Yeah. I think back to, I think someone told me once, like, when you get pregnant, you're so excited to tell everyone. Like when you take that pregnancy test and you see a positive, especially if you've been struggling with infertility for a long time, which is what we did also. We struggled with infertility. And so you just want to tell the whole world, right? But some people are like, no, you need to wait for 12 weeks. That's the status quo, don't tell anyone till 12 weeks. But like, why? The reason why I believe you should tell people right away is because if you do have a miscarriage, you have that support. You have people in your life, your family, your closest friends there to support you. And it's an awkward conversation to be like, if you didn't tell them that you were pregnant, and then you did have miscarriage. It's not awkward. I'm sorry, that's a wrong word, but it would be harder, right?
Right.
So,
and you're suffering alone then also.
Right.
You're isolating because you're going to go through the loss if it happens.
Right.
You still go through that loss either way. So maybe you don't announce it to the world.
Right.
But sharing it with your closest people, I can see how that would be something that would be of great value then, either way, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah, because they're there to support you in it no matter what happens.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's good advice. That's good advice. So Hopewell spoken to you in your journey.
Yes.
And stuck with you. And then you've taken that and you've turned that into something inspirational, something I'd say inspirational, supportive. All of these wonderful things. So what does that look like? What is your hope when you hope well? What is your hope with this?
So God really used this experience for me to kind of direct me into fitness and coaching and just really focusing on my health, and also using that to seek out women who have also gone through a loss and help them walk through a health journey. I think specifically when I got into weightlifting at home, strength training, that just really, really helped me, like emotionally, spiritually, physically, like everything. I think that's the best thing that women can do for themselves after a miscarriage is just really focus on their health and on their fitness. And so that's what I want to help women do now. And I created a sweatshirt called named Hopewell too. My sister actually got this on Etsy for me, so I don't have this on my website, but I do. I want to. I have like a merch store through Bonfire that I want to share the message of hope well after loss, and but using health and fitness as a catalyst for healing and for helping grieve, because also after you have a miscarriage, you find out your friends are pregnant, you find out your family is pregnant, and it's a good way to cope with those emotions. Like, you are so happy for them, you're so happy for them, but it's just something that stings also. And when I had gotten calls shortly after in the same situation, I was like, yay, good for them. I'm going to go get a workout in the garage, I'm going to go get some strength training and just pump up my endorphins and, just take care of myself and focus on that. It's just a healthy focus for women.
So what would you say for the woman that's walked through this and they hear you today and they want to do this, right? They want to focus on something that takes their mind off it, gets their physical body back into the place that it needs to be, but they just don't have the heart. They just don't have the desire. And I don't mean, I just contradicted myself because I said they hear you and they want this, but they can't.
Yeah.
Right. So sometimes I can't get that next step out. I just can't do it. What would you say to those women?
One step at a time. Just one step at a time. Just start with drinking more water. And I would say reach out to someone that does have a plan and a program that you can follow.
Accountability.
Accountability, exactly. Accountability is where it's at. And that is definitely the key. For sure.
Yeah. Well, and I think that rolls into a bigger topic of conversation with women in general, is we have been trained over the last several decades, societally trained by each other. And I don't mean trained like I'm teaching you to be this. I mean, it's been all of the messaging that we've got that You're strong enough to do this on your own. You don't need anybody else to do this. You shouldn't ask anybody for help. You've got this. You can do it all. You can be it all. Stand in your strength. Have the courage. Be confident. Like screaming at us to do all of this.
Yeah.
And here's the reality, ladies, because I'm going to tell it how it is. You can't do it alone. I'm sorry. You can't. And if you think you can, you will quickly find that you can't.
Mm-hmm.
We need each other. We need to be in community.
Yeah.
We need the accountability. We need our sisters to be able to love on us, to have compassion for us, to be able to be empathetic and sympathetic and relational and connected. And we need all of these things. And without it, you will go into the deepest, darkest hole you have ever been in.
Mm-hmm.
And you might not go there in your 20s, and you might not yet get there in your 30s. But I am telling you, at some point in your life, if you go it alone, you will end up very lonely, very broken, in a very dark place, looking for the answers to why you're there and how to get out. And it's right here. It's each other.
Mm-hmm.
It is.
Beautifully said. Yes, it really is.
Yeah. So we can't do this alone. These conversations, having these hard conversations. It's not easy to tell your story and to talk about, walking through an experience of, not being able to have children when you want and not knowing why. And not knowing and feeling like there's something wrong with you because you can't and your friend can, or your sister can, or your mom was able to easily. And why not me? Being able to answer those questions and then having the excitement of finally getting pregnant. My guest last week, we talked about similar, her loss, her walk in infertility, and, her experience of what this journey has been like in that. And if we don't have women around us, women before us, women behind us, women walking through the same thing, that can each come along with different pieces that you need in just the right moments, then we don't survive. We don't survive. And those are, of course, all God touched, right?
Mm-hmm.
This isn't to say that the human power is
Yeah.
doing it. It's the connections, that he's making through each of us. He's given us these sisters to walk with, to talk with, to lean on, to share with, to cry with.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I recently actually, have you heard of MOPS?
Yeah. Yeah.
I just signed up for that. I'm really excited to surround myself with a community of other moms that have similar aged kids as mine. So I'm excited to start that as like an extra support community as well.
So tell me about your family.
Okay, so I have my husband of 12 years in July, and we met in college at University of Central Florida, and we wanted to wait a little bit to have kids. So we did wait a while and enjoyed traveling and stuff. And then when we were, waiting or finally trying to have kids, it just didn't happen. And that's when I had my first miscarriage in 2019. And then in 2020, it's also actually a cool testimony. I should probably share it here as well.
Sure.
So it was going on about 3 years of us trying. And at that point, I was like, okay, God, I surrender. Whatever you want. We're willing to adopt. Whatever you have planned for our family, like, let it be. Your will be done, not mine. And one morning in my devotionals, I was listening to a Carrie Job song that just really touched me. Gosh, I can't remember the name of it right now. But also I was reading Mark. And in the book of Mark, it talks about Jesus healing the deaf and blind man by spitting on his hands and touching the man. And I just started crying. I was like, oh, he said, oh, this is what it was. He said, aphasia, which in Greek means be opened. So when he touched the man's lips and eyes, he said, be open. I'm sorry, I can't remember if it was deaf, mute, or blind. It was two of those. It was two of those.
That's okay. It's okay.
And, but he said, aphasia, be opened. And so when I read that, I had never read that before. And I just started crying, and I took the tears from my eyes and I just placed it on my womb. And I said, aphasia, God, open my womb. Open my womb. We really want a child. And the next month, we were pregnant with our son, who is 1.5 now, and his name is Corbin. And that name actually also came from the book of Mark. I found it there, and it means a gift from God dedicated back to God. So he is our miracle child as well.
Oh, that's amazing. I love that.
Yeah.
Oh, you're Corbin. So he's 1.5 years. So you're joining MOPS and going to take him and go to MOPS.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. And I think that's what's the word I want to say? Not universal, like it's a national, program. That you can find in different cities for moms to be able to come together and community and support one another, and the kids play, and it's a great organization.
It's a faith-based organization.
Yeah. That's where I think they have it at our church.
Yeah.
I want to say maybe once or twice when the kids were little, I think I attended it also. So that's great. So in the work that you're doing, the physical body, the stuff that you're doing with women physically, you're a Beachbody coach, correct?
Yes.
So what does a program look like to work with you? If there are women, out there that are wanting to get in shape, wanting to lose weight after a baby, having a baby, or having a miscarriage, any and all of the above, do you have a program that you take them through?
Yes, they have like over 100 programs that you could do depending on what you like, as far as strength training, yoga, Pilates, bar, dance. My two favorite to recommend to my clients are Bar Blend and Lift More or Lift 4. So one is a 8-week strength training program, progressively gaining strength throughout the 8 weeks. And then Bar Blend, you don't use weights, you use maybe a 2-pound dumbbell. But it's those just small movements of your legs and your arms that really get that burn. And that's really great for pre and postnatal women. But also she has an 8-week program for anyone also. So those are the two programs that I am just in love with, but they do have other programs you can go through as well.
So when women come to you, so let's walk through this so that we have a better idea of what it is. So if I come to you and I say, I'm interested in doing something, and this is all, hypothetical. I'm coming to you and I say, I've never worked out. I want to get in shape. I want to build strength, which I do want to add because I've been in the wellness space a long time. As a woman that's quite a bit older than you, ladies, speaking to anybody in, let's say, below the age of, I'm going to say my age, 48, the sooner you can start strength training, and I am not joking, you want the number one thing to anti-aging. Well, not number one, a big one for anti-aging is start strength training as soon as you hear this. And I'm not kidding. If you do this from the time you're in your teens all the way up, or you do this from your 20s, and it's never too late. So if you're 65 and listening to this, it's not too late. But I will tell you, the younger you start, the better off you'll be for many reasons. One of the biggest is your body retains muscle memory. So if you're somebody that has worked out since your early teens and you continue to strength train and you happen to take a month or two off, even you can take an entire season off. When you come back to it, your body will remember that better than the person that never worked out and decided in their 40s to start trying to work out. Weight loss, hormone balancing, wrinkles, all of those things, because having, your metabolism increases with, and we can go on and on. This isn't about nutrition and that, but I'm just saying, I love what you do because it's so important for women that you can be coaching to understand the importance of doing this and not yo-yoing through life, losing weight. Yeah. Weight loss does not equal being fit, and it does not equal being healthy. Yeah. Is it sometimes healthy to lose weight? Absolutely. But it is not the only thing. Strength training for women, number one thing for perimenopause, menopause. I mean, I could go on and on. So let's walk through. Let's walk through this as I interrupt you. And
no.
I told you I should be walking today and talking.
No, that's good. It really does help hormonally, and I don't know all the specifics behind the hormones, but I know, like, I just feel good when I'm strength training. Yeah. I feel good when I'm lifting weights, and so it's through the Beachbody On Demand app. Okay. Is where you're going to find the program.
So we come to you first, and you sign us up. Yeah. Through, and then do you have a coaching session with me and say, okay, what are your goals? How old are you? What are you going through? What are your objectives and goals? And then, kind of lay out, these are the options that I would look at.
Yes. Beachbody On Demand, they're now Body. Beachbody On Demand Interactive, and they really are focusing on health esteem. So yeah, no matter what body type you are, you can get plugged into any of the programs. But they do have a new thing now called Super Blocks. Yeah. Which every month that they have a highlighted program of the month that you can do with everyone at the same time, which is kind of fun. Yeah. Just to have a community of women all doing the same program at the same time. Yeah. So that they just implemented that in March. So sometimes I'm just like, hey, join us for this month's Super Block, because each program has strength training in it. Yeah. And each month it's 3 weeks of work, 5 days a week, and you get a week off or an optional like 2 or 3 workouts just to get your body reset for the next month. So that's where I would probably say, like, hey, if you want to do this, because the accountability really is, and the motivation for women is the key to sticking with something. Yeah.
So do you work with them then to help them? Like, do you check in on these women if they sign up for an 8-week program? You're their coach, and they get to check in with you?
Yeah. So they actually have an app. So in the app, there is a groups tab in it. And in that groups tab, it's kind of like our own Facebook group community. Okay. That I'll add them in. And that's where, once you're done with the workout, you'll check in there saying that you completed it. That's where I'll put different motivational things in there, and just hyping the women up in that group to stick with it. So yeah, it's a fun thing to have all together in the app.
And recipes for meals.
Yep, the recipes are in there. Great. The meal plans are in there. They have 3 different meal plans. One is like a portion container type of meal plan. Another one is just all on your mindset and like getting your mindset right for a lifestyle of healthy eating, which I really love. And then they have another gut protocol program to really heal the gut first. And then, so they have different supplements that could go along with those eating plans as well. And they have a tracking system within the app too, to track your meals, your weight, your inches, if you want to track that. Everything is in there. So I try to check that with my clients and just see that they're on the right track and if I don't see like progress, and just try to encourage them in that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
So, I want to ask you, what are your hopes and dreams for the future?
Ooh.
I know, deep. I went from up here. Now I'm going back in again.
Oh, I love that. Well, so I really appreciate you, Kim. I really appreciate that when we were on our initial call, and when you were asking me like kind of the similar question, and I was like, you know what? Like, I know God wants to use me and I want to be used by God. I just don't know. I don't have clarity, like super clear vision on that yet. But something that you just reminded me of is my son. I'm a mom, and that's my number one priority right now is the ministry I have to my son, raising my son in the ways of the Lord and making sure he's not an undisciplined boy. I've been reading Proverbs lately, and it really, really touches that on just like
me too.
I love that. Yes. So yeah, just trying to figure out motherhood right now since I'm still new. Hopes and dreams in 10 years. Wow.
Well, I think that's great.
Yeah.
I think in a lot of ways you answered it.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't always have, sometimes I think it's hard to have hopes and dreams too far down the road.
Yeah.
That, just being in the place that we're in and developing the hopes and dreams in the present, the near present of where we are. So that's, a big one is raising your boy. That's a huge dream, to raise them in the way that, you want to raise them, and a focus. And I would say, embrace that as a mama. As a mom that is on the backside of, we have one graduated, one graduating. We've got one at home for 2 more years and one for 4 more years. And then we're empty nesters.
Mm-hmm.
And we're just now, my husband and I were talking about this today. We're just now getting to enjoy, we look back on 26 years together, and there's a lot of things that we could sit and go, and I beat myself up. Like, I haven't been good enough. I haven't done enough. I made this mistake, and I didn't realize this about my childhood and how I carried that into, and how I reacted in this situation, and all of those things. But at the core of everything that we did, that we both looked at today and we agreed on, is the foundation of the values and their faith, and what we taught them through that. It gave them something that they're going to do things wrong. They're going to fail at things. They're going to make mistakes. They're going to do all of these things, but they will always get back up with the same values and the same faith.
Right.
That mustard seed that you plant at a very young age, and you just keep watering that and watering that and watering that, because you won't be perfect.
Right.
You are not going to get this all right, and you are not going to do all right, and you are not going to, we're human.
Right.
Right. But if you keep watering that seed of faith, he was entrusted to you for a specific reason. Right. And part of that is watching out for him, as his human mother, and doing the best that you can with the knowledge that you have, and the willingness to keep getting better, keep growing, keep doing better.
Right. Yeah. It's like the train up a child in the way he should go, and when he's older, he will not depart from it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And don't be hard on yourself.
Yeah. Give myself grace.
Yeah. And there will be seasons for all of it. And I know in my early 30s, I had the blessing and the curse of a cancer diagnosis in my 30s. The blessing of it was that I realized that the importance of my life was in that moment. And every moment that I was given. It wasn't where I was going to be in 15 years. It wasn't if I was going to make $1 million. It wasn't if I was going to be the CEO of some big company. It wasn't even in, the mission of impacting thousands of lives. My job was only in the moment that I had, and being the best that I could be in that moment. So enjoy where you're at when you're there.
Yes.
You know, enjoy where you're at, because it's a beautiful thing. And you're only going to get to be his mama once in terms of the timing, right? He'll only be 1.5 once, and 2 once, and 3 once.
Yeah.
So
yeah. My hair goes really fast.
It goes really fast. It does. It does. Yeah. Yeah. So yes, it was a gift in that I was able to, I mean, I've enjoyed the ride. I really have. I have no regrets.
Yeah.
I really don't. I mean, could I have done things better? Absolutely.
Right.
100%. But I didn't miss anything.
Right. Yeah.
So,
yeah. I don't want to be so distracted with my phone and with things that I'm not giving him the attention that he needs. And I think that's kind of a balance right now, you know, especially with any business owner, I guess, that has young children too, just finding that balance and knowing, I don't know. I think that's kind of right now for me. I'm like, okay, I want to focus on him, but I need to, you know, do this here and there, and, you know, still take care of the house. So just trying to find that.
Well, so you'll never have, so being present isn't being in everything either, right? So, you know, you're not going to be with your son 24/7 every single day for the next 18 years.
Right.
You know, I mean, you're going to go through these seasons, and you know, we've got teenagers that we hardly see now because they're with friends. So it's sort of like taking this bigger picture of, okay, what is my season right now? What is my focus? What is my purpose? What is my mission right now? And if it's being a mom and being home and doing those things, then when it's time to do laundry, don't beat yourself up that there's not a balance. It's just time to do laundry. And when it's time to clean the house, it's just time to clean the house, right? There's no, it's when we get obsessive about any one part of it.
Right.
So the balance is actually just in keeping the mindset that there are things that have to be done, and it's okay to do those things.
Right.
And just keep coming back to, what is the season about? Right?
Yeah, I really like that too. I've always believed in seasonal purpose.
Yeah.
Because, you know, growing up in the church and stuff, you always hear that Jeremiah 29:11, the Lord has amazing plans and a future for you. And in my mind, I always thought, oh, that's just one purpose. That's just one plan. That's just one direction. And, you know, every season that I've gone through, I have realized there is seasonal purpose. It's not just one single Jeremiah 29:11 purpose.
Exactly. Well, I just gave it, this will be one of the last, I have 2 things I kind of want to end on as I'm giving you advice.
I love it.
We're on our walk in the trees. So one thing that somebody has been speaking into my life a lot through he's a pastor, and he's been talking about it a lot. He has a podcast, and I'm in a group of, you know, business entrepreneurs, and he talks about it in there. So giving credit that this is all coming from him, but I'm repeating because it's resonating so strong in me. So we have this identity crisis in our country right now. People just not knowing, women not knowing who they are or what their purpose is or what their passion is. And so this is what he says, and this is what I believe. And I know not just from his words, but from what God tells me and has been telling me too, is you will spend the rest of your life seeking validation out here, and you will never find it, ever. There's never going to be enough validation for what you believe you need. But your value, your identity is already in you, and that's never going to shift. And he gave that to you. Your value is in him. And that validation that you seek is always going to be empty. So if you can keep connecting back to the value of who you are in him, then you'll never have a problem with the season that you're in, because he will be using you for the purpose, his purpose, every single step of the way.
Yeah. That's so good.
So, and that's been huge. It's been a great reminder to me. And I think it's a great reminder for women all over, that if you keep comparing, you keep judging, you keep believing that this validation that you think you need to get your value is being the best Beachbody coach there is, or making, X amount of dollars per month, or, whatever the expectation you're setting is, and you're seeking that out here, you're never going to find it.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a hamster wheel, just keep going.
Yes. Yes. And a metaphor for that my husband and I were talking about just today was, he gave an example of something. I don't even remember what it was because it didn't resonate with me. I have to have my own, I'm very visual. So I said, life is like a puzzle. And God has the picture. So you get this box. Usually you'll get a box, with all the pieces inside, and you look at the picture on the outside, right? And this happened during COVID. Like, God revealed this metaphor for me, and it's just been like, I'm sticking with it because for me, it's just what I need.
Yeah.
So we had these puzzles we did during the pandemic, and they were called, I'm going to call them something they're not, but they're like mix-up puzzles, right? So you get this puzzle, it has this picture on the box, and you think you're putting together what the picture is.
Okay.
And it comes out completely different.
Oh, wow.
Right? So
cool.
If you think of life like a puzzle, like these crazy puzzles that you think you have the picture of what's on the box, God has the picture for sure. And we've got these millions of pieces, and each of us are a piece in this puzzle. And we're all looking at all the pieces. And we start to put this puzzle together. And we think, as we're getting closer, that, I've got it, right? You're building a company and you're doing all these things, and this is going right and this is going that. And then you hit this barrier, and all of a sudden you realize, this isn't at all what I thought it was.
Right.
It's like the puzzle. You're putting the pieces together and you're forming this section of the puzzle, and you think that you've got what it is. And then you look and you go, well, that's not a flower garden. That's actually a playground. How did I think that was a flower garden? Right?
Yeah.
And so if you think we're all pieces, and these pieces need to come together in order to fill the bigger purpose of the picture, the entire picture.
Right.
So each piece has a purpose.
Right. Yeah.
And each piece fits with other pieces.
Right.
But we don't necessarily and aren't necessarily ever going to know the whole picture.
Yes. So true.
We're only going to have the section that we have as it comes together, and he's just going to keep putting the pieces together. So
I love that.
That's the way I like to look at it.
Yeah, that's a great illustration. I'm such an illustration-minded person too. That's good.
So, well, we only have a couple of minutes left. So I just want to make sure that the listeners know where they can find you. They can find you on Instagram. So will you share what your Instagram handle is?
Yes, it's Amanda.Montgomery with 2 Y's.
All right. So it's MONTGOMERYY, Amanda.Montgomery on Instagram. Awesome. And they can find in your link, they can find Hopewell, your sweatshirt that you have.
Yes, the merch site is in the link as well.
Awesome. And more stuff to come.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I just want to thank you for being here today. You have such a light, such a beautiful spirit. I'm excited for you and your journey, and being a mama and an advocate and an inspiration to other women that have walked through this. And I think it's okay. Well, I know it's okay because you told me it's okay, that if there are any women that listen to this and want to reach out to you, Amanda's a joy and a delight to talk to. I know she'll jump on the phone or a Zoom to have a conversation. So she's walking out her purpose, and I'm so thankful for you.
Thank you so much. I'm so grateful for you too, and that we were able to connect.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Fast friends.
Yeah.
Now we're new friends. So I also want to thank the listeners, all of you, for being here today on Aging Like a Badass. You can catch us live every Thursday here at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Have a wonderful week. This is Kimberly Price, your 40-something host of Aging Like a Badass. See you every Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time on W4WN Radio, as we come together to break the rules, ignore the critics, and age like a badass.